And hello everybody. Time for another Historical Lies video. This one concerns this particular place, Stonehenge. And when everyone thinks of Stonehenge, this is what they think of, the monument as they see it right now. The question we have to ask is, just what is this monument that we see right now, and how many people know that the monument was completely torn down and rebuilt back in the 1960s. Late 1950s and 1960s, Stonehenge had all of its stones taken away, brought back, and rebuilt. So we're going to discuss this today and discuss the possibilities of how accurate Stonehenge is as we see it and how this has affected it energetically. I went to Stonehenge about 10 years ago and had been, of course, very interested to see it. I was out in Salisbury to see Stonehenge and Avebury and a few other stone circles, Silbury Hill and things around Salisbury. And when I got to Stonehenge, it was one of the most disappointing moments of being to an ancient site I've ever had, because the energy of Stonehenge was just dead. Or I can't say dead, it was so weak as to be unnoticeable. And I had gone for 2 straight days. I had gone out there twice during the daytime when you're not allowed to get close to it, when this is as close you can get to Stonehenge, and then went also in the evenings when you are allowed the special access to the stone. So I do have the ability to say I've been there more than one day. I've been right into the stones. I've actually, as you can see, sat up against the stones for long periods of time, and the energy in Stonehenge was near zero. Now, again, I can't say that it was zero, but I can say that there was almost no feeling in the body, and the people I were with had similar experiences. That's compared to here, Avebury. Now, we had went to Avebury the very next day, and at Avebury it felt like my legs were on fire. There were certain parts of Avebury inside the main stone circle where I actually couldn't even stand. I was literally, my feet felt like they were burning, and I had to keep moving because the energy was so strong. By the end of the day at Avebury, I could have ran a marathon, I could have done a triathlon, and you know, I can barely ride a bike and I can't swim very well, and I probably would have done well because the energy from Avebury was so strong. The stones at Avebury were intensely energizing. But then we have Stonehenge, which was a dead site. And I had trouble trying to understand it when I got back. And then it was around 2013, I happened to run into a Russian website that started posting pictures like this. Now, back in the late 1950s, there had been some restorations on Stonehenge before. As we understand how the story goes, every single stone at Stonehenge was taken away. They literally took down the entire site, put it on trucks, moved it off-site, and excavated. Now, what exactly, of course, they were excavating is hard to say. You can see that there's a tremendous amount of machinery and a tremendous amount of steel and metal that's going on during this operation. So the first problem we have is they've taken the stones away. So we don't really know, A, what they found in the digging process, because they dug up quite a lot of the Stonehenge area. The second problem we don't know is, are these the original stones that came back? I mean, there's nobody that we can trust that was there at the time, watching each stone go, knowing exactly where that stone was going to be kept during the restoration process, and then watch to make sure it was the exact stone that came back. And I've got my questions, as we'll see at the end of this little video, that maybe they didn't bring back the original stones at all. They may have just brought back copies. The copies were placed in the ground. In many cases, those copies have now been, or I can't say they're copies. The stones that are at Stonehenge now, in many cases, are placed in with cement. They claim that some of the stones were falling over. They were dangerous for tourists. So the stones were cemented in place. Now, again, when we're talking about Stonehenge as an energetic structure, like any ancient site is an energetic structure, how just on that alone, how much is the energy of the site being destroyed, given the fact that they've been cemented in place, and given the fact that they may not be in the exact right positions, they may not be in the exact right perfected alignments that they may have been in original, and that can be enough to turn off the energy or change the energy flow. And then of course we're back to, we don't know these are the original stones. We don't know if these are actually the stones that were in Stonehenge before the restoration. Who knows? Those stones might be in some hidden out of the way special garden or some underground facility, and these are copies, not the same stones that were used in the original Stonehenge. So I just want to show some of these photos as we think about this. Now I know some websites, cause I saw these in 2013 the first time. They were on, like I say, on a Russian website, I believe from the Laboratory of Alternate History, probably, but I might be wrong. But as soon as I saw them, I downloaded, I think it was like 300 photographs, because I thought these things are going to disappear. We may never see them again, and that's not true. These photos have continued to be around, and but it was just such a shocking thing. It fully explained to me why I felt no energy at the site, was because it was obviously rebuilt. The Stonehenge we see is, after this, not the Stonehenge as it was originally intended. Now, as I say, many websites today have been looking into this, and some have even suggested that Stonehenge didn't exist until the 1950s, that they actually built it in the 1950s. There was nothing there, and they've made up this giant story. Now, I'm nowhere going to go that far on it, because I'm pretty sure it was there long before the 1950s. Something was certainly at that site. We have earlier photographs, we have diagrams, we have paintings. Now, how much of the art, how much of what we have now is matching perhaps the artwork compared to what the original was? Again, we don't know for sure, because of this obvious rebuild of the site. So it leads to tremendous question. Here's some of the digging pits. So after they had taken the stones away, they dug through a lot of areas to see what they could find. We'll go back to that, under the ground. And again, who knows what they found. I also felt there was an underground area beneath Stonehenge. It's another thing that was very curious to me. I found some what were obvious cement passageways that had been covered over and sealed over. And I asked a couple of the guards, oh, why is this covered over? Where does this lead? And they'd say something, oh, that was an old water well, or oh, that was... but they were very uncomfortable being given the question. They didn't like that I was asking the question to start with, and they didn't like that I was bringing up what might be underneath Stonehenge. And just 2 or 3 days ago, there was an article in the English newspaper saying that close to Stonehenge, they found maybe 20, 30, 40 shafts. Now, they're not saying they're water wells, that they're considered shafts, and that would consider underground rooms, underground chambers, and I'm pretty sure there's an underground chamber beneath Stonehenge, or chambers. I'm pretty sure that part of this restoration on the surface was also to hide or to give them access and people away so they could get into these underground chambers beneath Stonehenge and do whatever they were doing with these underground areas. But we can see that these are stones, all being replaced, all being rebuilt, all being put back into Stonehenge. And again, I think all of this easily explains the lack of energy that I felt at the site, and most everyone I know who's gone there feels at Stonehenge. We know you can tell there was an energy there at one time. There was an energy that existed at one time, but it's just not, it's almost inaccessible now, compared, like I say, to a place like Avebury, or even compared to the stone circles I go to in Scandinavia. The stone circles in Scandinavia are 50 to 100 times stronger than the stones here than the area at Stonehenge. Here's a really good example. He's under the ground, and just how far is this digging process going? They're obviously not digging. This is one of my real strangest photos. How far is he actually going down? Is this actually part of one of these shafts I was talking about, leading to these underground areas? So there are questions that are very concerning to me, and questions like this. So we see a stone, you see the exterior of the stone, but this is obviously some type of cement, some type of modern product that has had a stone base put on it. So are we seeing that stones, some of the stones, all of the stones are modern artificial fakes? And it's pictures like this that begin to get you very clearly to think in that manner. We'll end with a few of these photographs that will here's another one. Here's a modern photo. And again, it's this area right here that's obviously clearly that's not regular stone. That's not part of an original block. This is showing that's a modern piece. Now, are they going to try to say that they've added this to somehow try to stabilize the stone? That they've, I'm sure they'll have some very logical reason for why it's there, but it's also bringing up the question, like, if I kept chipping away the stone further up the stone here, is the whole thing going to be like that? This was on Obama's trip that he went. When did he go? 2014 or 2015 or something. But again, you can see that quite clearly that is not original stone. That is, and if they say that's a repair, if they've made a repair, that's a pretty delicate repair. If you're just going to place this in there, I have a feeling it's got to go much, much higher. So with that, we'll let the sun set on my questions into Stonehenge. Again, I feel it's a near zero energy site. I think it at one time was a beautiful place. The entire landscape, all the way from Stonehenge to Woodhenge to the Curses to the various barrows to it's a spectacular ancient site that has had it obviously in some way rebuilt, rechanged, redone, and who knows, even had fake stones put into place. And to be honest, I think that's a really important question for one of the most key sites in the ancient world that we are presented with. I think that's something we should know for sure. What actually are we dealing with here? Are these the original stones, or are these some sort of fakes? Thanks for watching the next one. I'm kind of getting through about 1,000 pages of research that have been sitting in a box for about 10 years, and now that I have a YouTube channel, I'm trying to get them out and trying to get a topic up every week or so of something more that's been sitting in the box. So please please subscribe. That helps move the videos up the YouTube channel, lets other people get a chance to see what's here. If you're interested, by all means, make a comment. If you have a suggestion or something about this video or something from one of your trips you've been to Stonehenge, by all means, drop a comment and we'll see what we can possibly figure out. I'll leave a link as well to a thread on stolenhistory.org, who do terrific research on historical lies and on the historical past and the question of it, and they have a 6-page thread on Stonehenge, so I'll leave that link for you. So again, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in a week.